market analysts are looking at various stocks that are likely to do well in Trump's administration. And one stock that is definitely expected to do well has to do with private prisons, specifically GEO Group and Corrections Corporation of America. Now, that's weird. I mean, under Obama, there was a plan to stop the use of private prisons on a federal level. But Donald Trump is likely to amplify the construction and the implementation of private prisons because of the fact that he wants to detain as many undocumented immigrants as possible. Now, besides announcing that he will triple the number of immigration and customs enforcement officers and order the Department of Homeland Security to start building the wall, Trump and his team also committed to locking up more immigrants who illegally cross the border. Now, let's stop for a second. Think about what that means, okay? So if you detain undocumented immigrants, some of which might be asylum seekers, the American taxpayer, who's very, very concerned about us wasting money, would have to pay these private prisons to detain them for years on end, okay, instead of just deporting them. Let me continue. The whole project could cost more than $117 billion over the next 10 years. Now, full disclosure, though, that figure was estimated by a think tank that is associated with Hillary Clinton, so it could be an inflated figure, but we know that private prisons are actually very costly, and they're way more costly than publicly run prisons. So GEO Group recently hired 2 former Sessions staffers onto its DC lobbying team, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, I just want to be fair to Center for American Progress. That's the think tank that you were alluding to. So they've done some great work in the past. Yes, they definitely backed Hillary Clinton, or the people who ran that organization were big Hillary Clinton supporters. But that doesn't mean that they're like the right wing. They actually fact check. They do their research. So I've not run in, like some of David Brock's groups.
Yeah.
During the campaign, I ran into plenty of things where I was like, oh, that's not really true. But in terms of Center for American Progress, I never saw them print anything that wasn't true.
Yeah, look, I'm just keeping it real. Anytime that you state a statistic that comes from a think tank that has a bias, you should state what that bias is. So yeah, just keep it at 100 with you guys.
That's totally fair.
But there are other independent studies pertaining to the issue of private prisons. There are people, academics, who have looked into this issue. There are state lawmakers who have looked into this issue to see whether or not private prisons actually save money, and they end up being way more costly. And so, again, you can look into it yourself. Private prisons have been a disaster. They've been a disaster because it is a business that only wants to profit. And the way that they profit is by imprisoning nonviolent offenders, okay? So that's the reason why we continuously have these ridiculous prohibitions on drugs like marijuana, and that's the reason why, some of the red states will push harder on anti-immigration policies.
So let me be clear about this. We're going to win on private prisons. Now, that's a long-term mission, and you think, well, really? I mean, they keep getting bigger and bigger and stronger, and it's easy. They just, legally bribe politicians through campaign contributions to build more private prisons, even though it costs more money, is more dangerous, et cetera, right? No, I think that if you've got strong Democrats at some point that actually make a case, right, that the American people are going to intuitively understand that if you incentivize anyone to do something through profits, they will do more of it. Like, everybody gets that, right? So if you say you will make more money if you imprison more Americans, they're going to imprison more Americans, right or wrong, because that's how they make money. Now, the private prisons don't get to arrest you. Not exactly right. They contribute to campaigns, and those politicians pass laws to imprison more people.
Absolutely.
So, for example, undocumented immigrants, Trump just declared them all criminals. Before, they didn't have documents, and if they had committed a crime like assault, et cetera, then they would be sent back, but first they would be in a detention center. Now they're saying, well, the act of crossing the border is now considered a criminal act, which it wasn't before. So now immediately you're going to have to go to those private prisons where they're going to make more money. And I can give you a list of a dozen other ways that they have passed laws to make sure that the private prison business is a good business. Now, maybe some of you don't mind if you think, oh, those immigrants, they had it coming, right? But you think they're not going to pass laws to put you in prison?
I mean, that's exactly what's been happening, by the way. Okay, so private prisons weren't really an issue in the United States until the 80s. ironic, well, I don't know if it's ironic, but in 1984, the private prison industrial complex just exploded, and it was because of our draconian laws on marijuana, right? And so they're like, oh my God, look at all these publicly run prisons. They can't house all these drug users. So why don't we make a business out of it? And so that's exactly what they did. And all of a sudden you see GEO Group popping up all over the place, Corrections Corporation of America popping up all over the place. And so when people ask the question over and over again, why have we not taken marijuana off of the Schedule 1 label? Well, it's because people are making money off of its prohibition. That's why it's happening. And Jeff Sessions himself has been very aggressive against legalizing marijuana. And so to think that two of his former staffers have now been hired as lobbyists for these private prisons scares the hell out of me. So we'll see what happens.
No, I know what's going to happen. They didn't hire them by accident. Of course they hired them so they could influence Jeff Sessions. That's how it works. So that he could arrest more Americans so they can make more money. No, we're going to put an end to this. JusticeDemocrats.com. Because at some point, they're going to start arresting too many white folks. And it's like what happened with the drug laws. All of a sudden, oh my God, people on painkillers now taking heroin, and a lot of white folks being arrested in Kentucky. All of a sudden, the Kentucky senators are like, maybe we should do criminal justice reform. No, there shouldn't be a single private prison in America. And we will get to a point where there isn't. JusticeDemocrats.com. Did I say anything? I just said it. If you like some of the political stories we do on the show, you're going to love Aggressive Progressive. Get that show just for members at tytnetwork.com/join. That was a good one.